Good evening, students. Okay, so we were discussing on a very important topic as we had given an introduction of the topic and understood it that we are discussing on input tax credit. Okay, so input tax credit gives us the benefit of claiming the credit and offsetting that with our liability. So ITC is very essential because when you claim the item, liability reduces. Okay. So we understood basics of ITC. Now, what we'll do is we'll continue from the place where we left off. Right. So we are discussing on the 6 conditions to claim the credit. Remember these 6 conditions? Now we will get into each of these conditions and understand it. Now, all of this comes from section 16.2. Now, within section 16.2, there are subsections. What are those subsections is given in this slide. Starts with 16.2a. The first condition states that the person who is claiming the input tax credit, he should be in possession of the tax paying document. Okay, that is 16.2a, which gives the first condition that to claim the input tax credit, you should be in possession of a tax paying document. Then 16.2AA says that invoice should be uploaded and appear in the GSTR 2B. Then 16.2B says you should have actually received the goods, and in case of services, you should have actually received the services. That is 16.2B. Then the fourth condition is given in 16.2BA, wherein ITC should not be restricted. And then fifth condition is that the tax levied on supply is actually paid to the government. And then the last condition is you can claim the ITC, that all the conditions are satisfied, but how do you claim it? You can claim the ITC as we had seen in the last class. I had displayed you a GSTR 3B return that you can claim the credit by filing the GSTR 3B return. Clear? Now, from these section, what do you make out? Are you finding some uniqueness in this section? Is this section normal? My question is, these are the subsections. So just not a technical thing, but is there this section arrangement correct, or is there something which you can think of? 16.2 is common, right? Good observation, Ashlisha, that yes, 16.2 is common. Then there are subsections. Okay, anything else? I will ask you a question since you have not observed it. So now I will put up the poser and you will have to answer now. So first is 16.2a, then comes 16.2AA, then 16.2b. Why is that so? It can be 16.2a, then 16.2b, 16.2c, 16.2d, D, then E and F. Instead of that, why do you think this double A and BA are appearing in between? Correct. So few people have understood it correctly that yes, due to amendments. So what happened was first, when the law was passed, there was 16(2)(a), then there was 16(2)(b), then there was 16(2)(c), and 16(2)(d). So there were only four conditions. As and when the law developed, they amended the law and brought in the amended sections. So when you see 16(2)(a), it is like kind of fitting between 16(2)(a) and B. Now they cannot replace 16(2)(b with 16(2)(c) and put a new section there. So that will disturb the whole recurrence or the consequences of the sequential section which is appearing. So they will just mention 16(2)(a) as it is, 16(2)(b) will be as it is. In between, excusing will happen through a amended section which is 16(2)(a). So this is a amended section, which means that this has been amended and brought in later on. Similarly, 16(2)(ba) also, wherein they have brought in 16(2)(a), then the amendment they wanted to squeeze between B and C, so they've got it 16(2)(ba). So whenever you find such odd sections, you should understand that that is happened through an amendment. Correct, Jaya Manocha? Yes. So few students have understood that yes, because the same framework happens even in income tax law, that any amendment happens, then there are a lot of insertions that A, B, C, D gets added up. Similarly, in the GST law also. So totally, once we have understood that basic aspect of amendment happening, now we know that there has been an amendment and this is a newly inserted sections. So 16(2)(a) has been recently added, which is in 2022. So till 17 to 2022, there was no this condition was not there that invoice has to be uploaded in the GSTR 2B. So that was there only in the rules. And then there were a lot of cases being filed that the Act is silent about GSTR 2B. So how can you ask us to claim input as per 2B? That is when they realized that yes, we have to amend it in the law, and they brought in into the law in 2022 by inserting this subsection. So now, as on today, what is relevant for your exams, we have six conditions to be fulfilled. Now, what are these conditions? We'll go one by one. First is you should be in possession of a tax paying document. Now, what is this tax paying document? It could be a invoice or a revised invoice, which is issued by the supplier of goods or services. So the supplier who's supplying to you the goods or services, he should raise an invoice. Now, the invoice issued by the recipient receiving the goods or services from unregistered person along with proof of payment. So when the supplier is registered, then he will raise an invoice, and basis that invoice you can claim the credit. Now, if the supplier is unregistered and there is a reverse charge liability on that transaction, then the supplier cannot raise the invoice because he is not registered under GST. But the receiver who will pay the tax and the reverse charge, he can raise the invoice. So he will raise the invoice, and basis his invoice, which he is raising to himself, with the proof that he's paid the taxes, he can claim the credit. Clear? So first one is for a registered person. Second is for an unregistered person. That is when the supplier gives the invoice, supplies something, but the recipient raises the invoice along with proof of payment, he will claim the credit. Third is we know this concept of debit note. So when the registered person raises the invoice and he finds that he is short charged something, he will correct it through a debit note. So that debit note also is a document basis which we can claim the credit. Provided in the debit note, the value of the supply, the differential supply, and the tax is mentioned. If the tax is mentioned, we can claim the credit of the tax. And bill of entry. We know that on import of goods, we can claim the credit. So how will we claim it? When we import something, there is a document which we have to file at the customs. That document is called as bill of entry. So when you clear something from outside India, when you're clearing it, you will have to file a document with the customs on what is the goods what you're importing, what is the description of the goods, what is the value of the goods, what is the invoice basis which you're clearing it. That document is called bill of entry. In the bill of entry, customs duty is being charged. Along with customs duty, IGST is charged. Since IGST is charged there, that becomes a document for us to claim the credit. Okay. Then document issued by the input service distributor. An input service distributor is one who will receive all the services on behalf of various branches, and then he will distribute that credit to all the respective branches. So he is called as a input service distributor. So any invoice which is raised by this input service distributor to other branches, the other branches can claim the credit of that. No ITC of tax paid towards demands involving fraud. Okay, so where a fraud is involved, then you cannot claim any ITC. Then revised invoice. We have told here invoiced or revised invoice. Can this revised invoice be raised by everyone? No, it can't be raised by everyone. When we go to registration, you'll understand that once we apply for registration and the time we get the registration, there is a time gap. Okay. So to meet up that time gap, you will supply it, but your registration will get delayed. So once you get the registration, those invoices in the interim period, when you applied for registration and till the time you got it, whatever supplies you have made, that invoices you can revise it. So the revised invoice is available only to a newly registered person and not to everyone. So sales is uploaded in GSTR1. So how can we upload invoice in 2B? You do not have to, Pranav. Once you upload the invoices in GSTR1, that is sufficient. The recipient will see it in his GSTR2B. So GSTR2B is a collection of all the GSTR1s filed by your multiple suppliers. IST point, yeah, input service distributor point is that let's take an example of Reliance Retail. Now, Reliance Retail Reliance Infocom, that will be better. Reliance Infocom has multiple branches across the country. Now, some party, what the Reliance Infocom may do is they will avail some services and they will distribute it to the various branches. It's not used in only one office, it is used in multiple offices. So since it is used at multiple offices, you cannot tell the vendor that you raise multiple invoices to multiple people. They will tell, no, I will raise only one invoice. So when such one single invoice is raised, they will tell that we have a separate registration called as a input service distributor. So you raise the invoice on this input service distributor, and this input service distributor will raise the respective breakup, proportionate, bifurcation, will do it and supply it to the respective branches. Okay, that is called as a concept of input service distributor, where a person avails the credit centrally and distributes the credit to various branches. Here with this कि आपको जो भी क्रेडिट क्लेम करना है आपके पास डॉक्यूमेंट रहना चाहिए. बिना डॉक्यूमेंट के आप क्लेम नहीं कर सकते हो. आपके पास क्या डॉक्यूमेंट रहना चाहिए? टैक्स इनवॉइस या रिवाइज टैक्स इनवॉइस, या फिर टैक्स इनवॉइस जो आप खुद के ऊपर रेज करोगे, या फिर डेबिट नोट, या फिर बिल ऑफ एंट्री। और लास्ट केस है इनपुट सर्विस डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर का इनवॉइस। ये 5 डॉक्यूमेंट के बेसिस पे आप क्रेडिट क्लेम कर सकते हो। Anyways, this ISD is only for your understanding, but this ISD is dealt only in the finals, not to be uh, taken very seriously, because ISD is only a concept there, but understanding and getting into ISD, you will do it in the final classes. Now, when we talk of these invoices, what are the minimum field requirements, or what are the fields which has to be in the invoice? A normal invoice is like this, wherein he will mention the supplier. He is a supplier. Who is the supplier? Gujarat Freight Tools. He is a supplier. He will mention his address and other things. He will mention his GSTI number, and this document will be called as tax invoice. And he will mention these compulsory details, that is the invoice number, the date of invoice. If there is any challan, PO, delivery note, these are all not mandatory, but invoice number and invoice date is mandatory. E-way bill number, this is mandatory. He has to mention this. Then the customer details, to whom he is supplying, what is the address of the customer, the GSTIN number of the customer, and place of supply. Why place of supply? Because place of supply will decide whether he will have to charge CGST, SGST, or just IGST. Then he will have to mention the description of the goods, the HSN for each different goods. If he has 100 items, then separate 100 HSNs for each product has to be mentioned. The rate, the taxable value, the GST percentage, and the value. Okay. Then in the final, he will have to give what is the GST, what he's charged, and what is the total of it. So this is a general invoice, but at least minimum requirements, what has to be there? GSTN of the supplier and recipient, description of the goods, total value of supply, what is the amount of tax charged, what is the place of supply. These are the at least basic minimum requirements which has to be there in the invoice. If other details are there, well and good, but they are not compulsorily to be mentioned. So is there any time limit for revised invoice? Yes. There's only time limit of 1 month within which you can revise your invoice. After that, the newly registered person also cannot revise the invoice later on. Clear? What are the basic requirements you will see in a invoice? Then details of invoice are debit notes. Second condition, 16(2)AA says the invoice or debit notes should be uploaded by the supplier in his GSTR1 or IFF and should be communicated to the recipient in his GSTR2B. So ITC on invoices or debit notes which are furnished by the suppliers in their GSTR1 will be reflected in the GSTR2B. So you do not have to enter anything in the GSTR2B. It will be reflecting based on the GSTR1 filed by the supplier. Then, if these invoices are appearing, then full ITC can be claimed because it is appearing. You have the invoice, first condition is satisfied. Second condition, you will see whether that value, what is appearing in a particular invoice, is appearing in your GSTR2B. If it is appearing, full credit can be claimed. If it is not appearing, why it will not appear in your GSTR2B? When the supplier has not furnished. Okay. ITC on invoice debit note which have not been furnished by the suppliers and therefore it is not reflecting in the GSTR2B. In such case, you cannot claim the ITC. So second condition is not satisfied. First condition is satisfied. Can you claim based on first condition? No. Both all the 6 conditions has to be satisfied. Second condition is that it should appear in your GSTR2B. No, it is not appearing. If it is not appearing, you cannot claim it. So how does the flow happen? That if Mr. A sells the goods to Mr. B, okay, Then who will file the GSTR1? Yes, Anubhav. I will come back to your question on what is IFF. We'll understand how does GSTR1 and then we'll understand IFF also. Yeah. A sells goods to B. Who will file GSTR1? Yes, everybody is right that A will file the GSTR1. Since he is the supplier, he will file the GSTR1. Once he files the GSTR1, okay, he will file IFF if he files GSTR1 quarterly. Yeah. So somebody was asking on IFF also. GSTR1 has to be filed on a monthly basis. Okay. Once you file your returns monthly, then you will file your GSTR1 also monthly and your GSTR3B also will file on a monthly basis. But say in a case where the supplier is given an option that you don't file your returns monthly, you're a small trader, which means your turnover is below 1.5 crores or below 5 crores, and you are given an option that you don't file your returns monthly, you can file it quarterly. So once this person files the returns on a quarterly basis, the receiver will not be able to see the credit in his GSTR2B. So then he will start questioning the supplier that I have done all the conditions, I've made the payment to you, I've bought the goods from you, but I am not seeing the credit what you have given in your invoice in my GSTR 2B. So that's why he will answer saying that no, I have to file a quarterly returns. But receiver will say, if I have to claim the credit at the end of the quarter, then there is a loss of 2 months for me. So I want the credit to be seen immediately. That is when the government has brought this option called IFF, which is called as invoice filing facility. So this is a invoice filing facility where the supplier will file his GSTR1, and once he files his GSTR1 on a monthly basis, the receiver will get the credit. But a person who's filing on a quarterly basis, you file your GSTR1 on a quarterly basis, but these receivers, they need the credit. So such invoice you upload on this document called invoice furnishing facility, that you will supply it and you will raise an invoice also. That invoices you will upload it in a IFF. Okay. So if Mr. A sells goods to Mr. B, if he's a monthly filer, he will file GSTR1. But if he's a quarterly filer, he has an option for any receiver who needs the credit. You can file such invoices in this invoice furnishing facility. Okay. Now, once the supplier files either the GSTR1 or the IFF, then it will automatically reflect in GSTR2B of the receiver who's Mr. B. So the information what is there in GSTR1 gets reflected in GSTR2B of Mr. B automatically. And then the amount of ITC on purchases gets credited to the electronic credit ledger. So basis this, Mr. B will file his GSTR3B return and then he will show how much is the credit he's claimed in his GSTR3B. Then that basis that GSTR3B return, that amount gets credited in his electronic credit ledger. So that is how the flow of GSTR1 to 2B from 2B to 3B is in a chain manner. Yes, Navneet, what is your question? Yes, Anubhav. If you are doing a quarterly filing, then quarterly you will file IFF, and at the end of the monthly you will do IFF filing, and at the end of the quarter you will file GSTR1. So for monthly filers, it will be only GSTR1. For quarterly filers, it will be monthly IFF and quarterly GSTR1. ठीक है? Simple है GST, nothing complicated. That सप्लायर क्या करेगा? सप्लायर फाइल करेगा, रिसीवर को जीएसटीआर 2B में दिख जाएगा और उसके बेसिस पे वो जीएसटीआर 3B रिटर्न फाइल करेगा। So if we do not do GSTR1 or GSTR3B in 1 year, the amount will deduct in our account? No. They will not deduct from our account because they don't know what is your sales on which you have to pay GST. So they will not know. So you will have to file GSTR1 and 3B. If you do not file, then there is a separate procedure for recovery of taxes. They will recover it through that way, but there is no option to deduct it from your account directly. Electronic credit ledger means it's a ledger wherein all your credits come and sit. That is called as electronic credit ledger. So whatever purchases you make, you will claim it in your 3B, right? All that 3B accumulated for various months will come and sit in one ledger that is called as electronic credit ledger. So here B is claiming ITC, correct. The receiver is claiming the ITC. GSTR to be same reflected immediately? Not immediately, because then it keeps changing. So once the due date for GSTR1 is completed, the GSTR1 due date gets completed by 13th. So 14th onwards, you can see the GSTR2B. Till then, you cannot see it. So how does one first claim ITC and then utilize it? I mean the process. So in the return itself, return once you file the 3B, that goes to your electronic credit ledger. And in the same return itself, you can utilize it and offset it with your liability. All credit means all sales and purchases. No, all credit means all purchases because sales is not a credit. Sales is your liability. Purchases is your credit. So all purchases will be reflected in your GSTR 2. If sales return happens, right? So once the sale has happened, it's your output. Once the sale return happens, what is the document you will raise, Kuldeep? You will raise a credit note. So from the sales of the subsequent month, you will reduce the whatever is the sale return value. So that on sales return, you don't have to pay anything. सप्लायर को जीएसटी लेने से क्या प्रॉफिट होगा? सप्लायर को जीएसटी लेने से इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट मिलेगा। ये सबसे बड़ा प्रॉफिट है उसको। वरना क्या होगा? वो परचेज करेगा, सप्लायर ने जो जीएसटी चार्ज किया है उसका क्रेडिट नहीं ले पाएगा, लेकिन अगर वो रजिस्टर्ड है तो क्रेडिट ले सकता है। So do you mean in 3B itself the claiming and utilization happen? Yes, in the 3B itself claiming and utilization happens. If Mr. B is filing GSTR to be annually, no, he cannot file GSTR to be annually. He will have to file the GSTR1 either annually, either monthly or quarterly. 3B filing frequency. 3B filing frequency is generally monthly, but for small traders, which means people who have turnover below 5 crores, they have an option to file it on a quarterly basis. So for them, it may be quarterly. If they want, they can do monthly also. So based on that, the frequency changes. This should also tally with sales in financials. Yes, that should ideally tally with the sales in your financial statements. Who is going to file GSTR 2B? Nobody is going to file Indranil. GSTR 1 you file, GSTR 2B will be auto-populated. You do not have to separately file the GSTR 2B. You have to only download and check the GSTR 2B. So what if purchasers claim ITC manually but supplier denied to file GST? Right. So you can claim it manually, but there will be a mismatch with your GSTR 2B and what you have claimed. So then the government will again come and question you saying that on what basis you have claimed the credit. So second condition of the section 16.2 says that you can claim the credit only when it's appearing in your GSTR 2B. So if you claim it beyond that, or you're claiming which is not appearing in your GSTR 2B, then that will be questioned and will be recovered from you. Do we need to file GSTR 3B? Yes. To report your sales, you will have to file your GSTR 2B and GSTR 3B. Clear? This will give us an understanding of how the transaction moves, right? One will get reflected as 2B, basis 2B, you will file your GSTR 3B. So if purchaser has GST invoice of purchase, but supplier defaulted in filing GSTR 2B, then any action can he take? He can only request him, he cannot take any action. Last three sessions missed. So they were all different chapters. This is an input tax credit. We just did the basics last class, Mustafa. So you can watch the previous lectures recordings and continue from this chapter even now. No problem. Correct. So if the supplier has taken the taxes but he's not filed it, then it's a loss for the recipient.
Hi, sir. I wanted to ask that for stock and trade goods, like if the raw materials have been sent to the warehouse by the supplier, and those stock and trade goods have not been sold due to any reasons. So, for in this case,
Yeah. So when do we claim the credit is once you have brought the purchase the stock. Immediately on purchasing the stock, you will claim the credit,
yeah,
right? So
yes.
once you have claimed it, and even if it is sitting as a stock, your credit will not get affected. Once you have claimed the credit, it will be in your electronic credit ledger. The stock sold or stock lying doesn't matter.
Okay, sir.
Correct. GSTR 1 filing, GSTR 2B viewing, and GSTR 3B filing again. They're all there on the same portal. The portal is called gst.gov.in. What if the recipient has ITC, but he wants to close a business? Gone. Whatever is the ITC he has, he will have to forego. He can't do anything of it because under GST, once you claim the credit, you have to use it against your sale. If you do not have any sale, you're closing your business, whatever is a credit line, it just vanishes. You can't do anything about it. You can't claim a refund of that credit lying in your electronic credit ledger. Clear? Now let's proceed further. That first condition is over, 16(2)(a), right? And then we have 16(2)(a). Further, 16(2)(a) says that the details of the invoice or debit note, which is referred in clause A, that is, we should have a duty paying document. So either invoice or debit note. That invoice or debit note, which is referred in 16(2)(a), should be furnished by the supplier in the statement of outward supply, and such details has been further communicated to the recipient in the manner specified under section 37, which means that the supplier has to file his GSTR1, and that gets communicated to the recipient. So invoices on which ITC is not available under any provisions, that is under section 17(5), are not to be considered for claiming ITC even though they are furnished by the supplier. Okay, so we will go through section 17(5), but we will understand here briefly that any credit which I'm claiming and appearing in my GSTR2B, I can claim it. But there is a special provision under the GST law. After 16, there comes section 17. In section 17, we have further subsection, which is called as subsection 5 of section 17, which is called as the block credit, which means that these credits which they specified under this section of 17(5), we cannot claim it. Few examples are like food, insurance. These we cannot claim it. Even if you use it for your business, we cannot claim it because government has called it as a block credit. Whatever genuine purchases you have done, whatever genuine expenses you have done, you cannot claim credit of these expenses. Okay, in that, food is one and insurance is one. There are others also. For our understanding, we'll just keep these two. So even if the credit of the food what we purchase, of the insurance what we purchase is appearing in our GST 2B, you have satisfied the condition, second condition which is required. But still, if it is there in the block credit under 17(5), we cannot claim it. Okay. So invoices on which ITC is not available under any provisions, which is not available under any provisions of section 75, are not to be considered for claiming ITC. Okay. Even it may appear in your GSTR 2B, but you cannot claim the credit. That is the first point. Second is, however, full ITC can be availed in respect of IGST paid on import, since the documents issued under reverse charge are credit reversed received under IST, because imports will not appear in your GSTR 2B. So you don't have to check that whether on my imports it is appearing in my 2B. You don't have to see it because bill of entry is a sufficient proof. Appearing of input tax credit on GSTR 2B is not applicable for imports. It's not applicable for any documents issued under reverse charge because you will yourself issue it. You will not file any GSTR1. That will also not appear. And then any credit received under ISD also, you don't have to check it over here. Okay. So these are the exceptions to 16(2)(a), wherein all the input should appear in your GSTR 2B. But in these three cases, IGST, which is paid on imports, documents issued under reverse charge, and credit received under input service distributor, these three are the exceptions to 16(2)(a), which we cannot. We can still claim it even if it is not appearing in our GSTR 2B. Okay. So how do you claim the credit? Say for a total month, for a month of August, your ITC is total 10,000 rupees or just 100 rupees. Now check whether 16 to double A compliance is done. It's compliant to the extent of rupees 70, claim 70. To the extent of rupees 20, it is not compliant. So then we cannot claim it. And there is another 10 rupees which is there in your GSTR 2B, but it is ineligible because it's a block credit. Even then, you cannot claim the credit. So, in two instances, you can't claim the credit. One, it is not appearing in your GSTR 2B, this instance. And second instance, when it is ineligible under Section 17(5). In those cases, you can't claim it. In the first case, you can claim the credit. Credit for capital nature item and revenue nature are differently reflected? No, it is reflected in total ITC on as goods, ITC on services, and ITC on capital goods. All these three you can claim. This will all get clubbed together and showed in your ITC register. So if any supplier not even sell anything in like a month, then he also got to have filed GSTR1. Yes, still he has to file GSTR1. That will be called as a nil GSTR1 because he's not made any transaction. But how will the government know if you have made transaction or no? So even if you don't make any transactions, you have to file a nil return through which government will know that, okay, for this month, you have not made any supplies. So if ITC is furnished by the supplier and ITC is not available, but recipient claim, then he has to reverse, yes. Any credit which you are claiming, which you are not supposed to claim, and if you have to reverse. 17.5, do we need to check every time? Yes, you will have to check it every time. When we go to 17.5, you will see that it's not a very big list, it's a small list. So every time you purchase, you have to be careful that such purchases, you should not claim the credit. Ineligible ITC, now did you understand, Pranav? So you mean IGST paid on imports and documents under RCM will not appear in our GSTR 2B. Correct. Correct. We have to keep a separate tagging. Yes, you will have to keep a separate tagging of that in your sub accounts. So if we do GSTR 1 or 3B for late, a person should pay penalty for late filing. He should pay late filing fees, not a penalty. He should pay late filing fees and interest if the tax amount is not paid on time. So if supplier has filed R1 but not done 3B, am I eligible for ITC? Yes, you are eligible because you will, but you have not filed 3B. So how can you claim it? Only if you file your GSTR 3B, then you can claim it. Without filing 3B, you cannot claim the ITC. Okay, in ineligible ITC, that is you're saying section 17(5), right? Just understand for now that there is some section which is saying that you cannot claim the credit. So you cannot claim it. What is this ineligible credit? We'll go to section 17, that time we'll understand. Sir, how portal check if item sold is exempt or taxable? Portal will not check. We have to check. The person who is supplying, he will have to check whether it is taxable or exempt. So is GSTR 3B self-uploaded or we must file it? We have to file it. It is not self-uploaded. You will have to check it, put the numbers and then file it. My vendor has not filed 3B after R1. Oh, okay. If the vendor has not filed, then you will claim it because it will appear in your 2B. Because once you file, the vendor has filed the GSTR 1, it will appear. But at the year end, there is a provision which says that you have to check if the vendor has filed the GSTR 3B return. If he has filed it, then you will continue to avail it. Otherwise, you will have to reverse the credit. So if the vendor is not filed 3B within the due date or within the extended due date, then you will have to reverse the credit if your vendor has not filed the GSTR 3B. Ineligible ITC and blocked ITC, they are little different. Blocked ITC means that ITC which is blocked under Section 17(5). Ineligible ITC could be ineligible for various reasons, for not satisfying the conditions, for not satisfying the subsequent conditions which we have said. All of that becomes ineligible. But block credit is a credit which is blocked because of this Section 17(5) Kala list. Sir, in electronic cash ledger, all credit items appears. What are the credit items? So doesn't mention that what you're getting credit for, because you'll just mention the amount there. The breakup of this will not be there in the credit ledger. You will just see that the credit ledger will have the total values what you have claimed credit for. Yes, for claiming ITC, GSTR 3B is mandatory. You're right. So we have to keep an eye on the vendor. Yes, very correct. You have to keep an eye on the vendor because you can see whether the vendor is filed one, you will see the GSTR 2A. But if he is not filed 3B, again that you have to check. Yes, it is worrisome, but that's the condition, Anubhav, to claim the credit. Difference between one R1 and R1A. Yeah. So once that's not relevant for the exams, but just for your academic interest and practically today, if you file your GSTR 1 and you find that after filing one, there is some mistake in that, that can be amended through this GSTR 1A. Okay. So R1 is the normal return and the amendment of that one happens through R1A. So how frequently do we need to check the payment status of the vendor? I'll come to that. There's a provision which says that within what period we have to make the payment. The last month have to amend or in any month. Yeah, if you file the return of this month one, you can amend it this month itself. You don't have to wait till the last month. Up to which date can we amend the R1? We can amend it up till the date of filing GSTR 3B or the due date. So before the due date, that is effectively from after the furnishing of the GSTR 1 due date completes on 13th. So from 14th to 20th, you can file GSTR 1A. Okay, let's take this example and understand this. As per my books of accounts, I have a credit of 8.4 lakhs, which means I have purchased and my credit is 8.4 lakhs. See, in case number one, supplier has furnished in form GSTR 1 80 invoices involving, cover this up. Okay. The supplier has furnished in form GSTR 1 80 invoices involving ITC of 6 lakhs as on the due date of furnishing of the details of outward supplies by the supplier. Now, how much is the credit which is eligible in this first case? Everyone is giving a correct answer. Few people are giving with doubt in their mind. Few are giving with confidence. Right. So since invoices worth 6 lakhs is appearing in my GSTR1, I can claim credit of 6 lakh rupees. Okay. Second scenario, the this books amount remains same, but the credit suppliers have furnished GSTR1 to the tune of 7 lakh rupees as on the due date of furnishing. So here, how much credit can I claim? Correct, Itam Shetty. Yes. So in second case, we can claim credit of 7 lakhs. Now in third case, suppliers have furnished GSTR1 involving ITC of rupees 8.5 lakhs. So here, how much credit can we claim? Okay. Here, everybody is saying a constant answer that you can claim credit in third case. Itam Shetty is saying in third case it is 8.5 lakhs, but everybody is saying it is 8.4 lakhs. So what is the condition to claim the credit, Itam Shetty? That it should appear in your GSTR 2B. But if you have not counted in your books and say some vendor has given wrong credit, so you can't claim it. So that's why in this third case, even if you have everything appearing in your GSTR 2B, okay, that is not sufficient. You should have actually had the invoice, which means GSTR 2B, I have 8.5 lakhs, but the first condition of having the invoice itself is 8.4 lakhs. So I can't claim credit beyond the first condition. So I should not see only second condition. I'll have to see first condition also. So first condition says you should have received the invoice. I've received invoices to the worth of 8.4 lakhs. So I can claim only 8.4 lakhs. So what happens to that addition, the differential of 10,000 rupees? Yes. So you cannot claim it in the next month. If you receive invoices to the extent of the 10,000 rupees, supplier has uploaded, but you have not received the invoice. So once the next month you receive it, that time you can claim the credit. 5 invoice less possible. So that will again appear next month. That time you can claim it. If claim now, then reverse it and claim it in next month when reflected in 2B. But it will not reflect in the 2B next month, Anubhav, because it's already reflected in the current month. So how will it reflect again in the next month? So this month it is already appearing. You can, yes, as a matter of return, you can claim it and then next month reverse it and reclaim.
Hi, sir. Sir, I'm not able to participate in the chat. My chat is being received by tech support Manish instead.
Uh, so there is some technical issue of chat of one person. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, Navneet, how will 8.4 lakh comes? Because this one and the books I have claimed only 8.4 lakhs. In my 2B, it is 8.5. So which will I claim? I cannot claim credit which is beyond my books of returns. So that's why I can claim only credit to the extent of 8.4 lakhs. So this is a very tricky part. When it comes to 2B blindly, people claim the credit in 2B. That should not happen. You should claim what is there in your books of accounts only to that extent. You can't claim anything and everything which is appearing in your GST or 2B.
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I meant that currently the ITC is showing on my 2B, but I am
Yes.
not in possession of the tax payment paying document. But I have
Correct.
claimed that ITC from by seeing the 2B form. So just tell me if I'm correct or wrong. And in the so I reversed it in the current month, and in the next month I got the tax invoice, tax payment document, and then I claimed it. Is it okay?
Correct. Yes, that's a
Oh,
correct thing.
thank you, sir.
Yeah, excess 10,000 rupees, you can claim it in the next month, Pranav, when you get the invoice.
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
Sir, actually, one thing I'm not able to understand, and when you were explaining, my network was lost, so I couldn't hear your answer. That how it comes 8,40,000. Sir, can you please explain again? Because network issue was there from my side.
8,40,000. Yeah. See, the data starts with, I've started with 8.4 lakh is the credit in your books of accounts, which means the condition one, which is you should have invoices. That is to the extent of 8.4 lakhs. And what is there in your GSTR1 is more. But you have to satisfy both the conditions that you should be having invoice and claiming the credit. So when you have invoices to the extent of 8.4 lakhs, you can claim only to 8.4 lakhs and not completely what is appearing in your GSTR 2B.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Sir, actually, sir, I didn't notice as per books 8 for 5 lakh credit. That's why I'm confused. Now I am clear.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So the simple example to give us a clarity that whatever is in 2B and what is the invoices we have, both has to be put together to check how much credit we can claim. Then the third condition says that 16(2)(b), you should have actually received the goods. Third condition is he has received the goods or services or both. That is, the receiver or the recipient should have received the goods by his own account or by his agent or any other person on behalf of whom he is claiming the ITC. So we know that the supplier can supply the goods by himself or through his agent. Similarly, the receiver can receive the goods by himself because the condition says that the receiver should have received the good. Now, either the receiver can receive it or his agent can receive the goods. Okay, so the condition will be satisfied even if I received it or on my behalf I tell somebody else to receive it, the condition will be satisfied. If recipient has paid advance to the supplier for supply in the future date, then he's not received the credit. He's not received it because it's a advance payment. So on advance payment, supplier will charge, right? Because the time of supply, we have seen time of supply for services. On receipt of advance, he will charge the GST. But can the recipient claim the credit? He cannot, because on advance payment, he is not received the services. He cannot claim the credit. And in case of bill to ship to transactions, also credit can be claimed, because in case of a bill to and ship to transaction, I am not shipping it to the person to whom I'm billing, right? You would have understood in the chapter of supply that when I bill to somebody and ship to somebody else, what will be my place of supply, right? Place of supply is determined there. But in case of a bill to ship to transaction, the actual person to whom I'm billing, he is not receiving. But still, he can claim the credit because the law allows that relaxation, that in a bill to ship to transaction, the person to whom you tell. So it says, no, recipient shall have received, or of his agent or any other person on his behalf. So on my behalf, I'm telling supply the goods to the third person, that is to ship to party. So once he receives it, that is deemed that I have received it. So only in the case of a bill to ship to transactions, you will not receive it, but still you can claim the credit. All invoices has to be uploaded on the portal. Yes, all invoices has to be uploaded on the portal. Correct. Bill to party is the person who will got the bill, so he will claim the credit. No, that advance amount below 1,000 is a separate criteria. Here, any advance which you make and you want to claim the credit, you cannot claim it because you have not satisfied this condition. This condition says that you should have actually received the goods or services. In case of an advance payment, you have not received the service, so you cannot claim the credit. In bill to ship to make give you clarity that Ganesh Traders is a supplier. He is billing to Maruti Traders and shipping to Prime Hardwares. So what is the place of supply? We know that goods are getting delivered to Prime Hardwares. So what should be the place of supply? I've mentioned it over here, but according to you, is this correct? Karnataka. Right, because the person whom I'm billing to, that become the place of supply. So the place of supply is Maruti Traders and ship to is happening to Prime Hardwares. So who will claim the credit here for the bill of Ganesh Traders? Maruti Traders. Okay. Even though the goods are not received by Maruti Traders, it is received to sent to Prime Hardware, but it is delivered to Prime Hardware on instruction of Maruti Traders. That's why Maruti Traders can claim the credit. And goods are deemed to be received by Maruti Traders. And when Maruti Traders raises invoice to Prime Hardwares, then Prime Hardwares can claim the credit on that. So that is the third condition. Now going to the fourth condition. Details of ITC in respect of the supply are not restricted under Section 38, which is the fourth conditions given under Section 16(2)(ba). So this fourth condition is a little tricky. It says that when some credit is appearing in your GSTR 2B, you claim it, but you will have two lists in your GSTR 2B. Okay, one list will be this, which will tell that on which ITC is available, and second will be the list on which ITC is not available. This is not a block credit. Block credit is separate. Apart from block credit, in your GSTR 2B itself, you will have a list which says that credit cannot be availed. So if this credit cannot be availed list is there, then I cannot claim the credit. Not ineligible, there is some criteria. Okay. That criteria, if the supplier is satisfying, then you cannot claim the credit. What is that criteria? Is if he's a new registrant. Okay. If he's newly registered, the government doesn't know that he will file his 3B and 1, will he pay taxes or no? That's why they have told that when you buy from a person who is newly registered, we will tell that it is restricted under this 16(2)(ba), which is read with section 38. So section 38 restriction is what we can call them. Okay. Newly registered. Second is who's a person who is defaulted in payment of taxes. He's furnished his one, but he's not paid his taxes to GST or 3B. His output tax, which is payable under GSTR1 or IFF, is more than the tax what he has to pay in the GSTR 3B. He's shown a turnover of 1 crore rupees in his GSTR1, but he's paid taxes of only 1 lakh rupees in his GSTR 3B. So there's a mismatch there. So when you buy from such person, also it will be restricted. Or who has availed ITC an amount that exceeds the credit that can be availed by him in GSTR 2B. So here can avail the credit from the GSTR 2B only to the extent of 5 lakh rupees. But he's claimed 50 lakh rupees in his GSTR 3B. So when you purchase from such non-compliant person, even then your credit will be blocked or restricted. And who is defaulted in discharging his tax liability in accordance with 49 read with Rule 86B. That will come to a later, but just understand that this person has defaulted in one of the other section, which is 49(12). And sixth condition is by such other person as the government may prescribe. So what is this fourth condition saying? That in your GSTR 2B, we will give you a special list. And from the special list, if you are getting credit from any of them, then your credit will be blocked. Now, how do we understand this? Let's take an example of one. I will show you a GSTR 2B. Then you will understand this in a better manner. I will show you a GSTR 2B. How does it appear? So once you go to the portal and tell download GSTR 2B, you will get the GSTR 2B. It will show you the tax period, the financial year, the tax period, the GSTIN, because you are downloading your GSTIN, it will show your company's name and the date when you have generated this. And the basic nomenclature saying what is the GSTIN and things. With this, we are not interested. So you will get the GSTR 2B. Once you get the GSTR 2B, you will have two categories. One is ITC, which is available. So this is the ITC which is available to me. And second category is ITC which is not available, which means if I have satisfied, the supplier has satisfied one of those 5 conditions, then it will appear here, which is an indication that the supplier has done his GSTR1 filing, but you cannot claim the credit. Okay, so your ITC available, you will see that this much amount is available. Why it is available? Because you will see the invoice wise details here, that these are the suppliers who has supplied to you and you can claim the credit of this. So this is the GSTR 2B, what we are talking about. Credit notes, all the category of the credits will appear here. Various heads are there. So what I'm trying to say in this is you will have a summary of this in ITC available, that much you can claim, and ITC not available, you cannot claim. Coming back to your question, means ready list available. Fourth with example. Yeah, sure. Fourth point, I'll explain it to you with example. The fourth one is who has availed ITC of an amount exceeding the credit that can be availed by him as per his GSTR 2B. In his GSTR 2B, the available credit is 80,000 rupees. But he's every month availing 1 lakh rupees, which means the government gave him credit of 80,000 rupees, but he's availing 20,000 more. So then from such person, when you buy also, your credit will be under that restricted criteria. How one person will know that the other party has done default? You don't have to know. Government will track it, and in your GSTR 2B, it will auto-populate as not eligible. So then you will know that you can't claim credit for the purchases what you have done from here. It's default of the supplier. You're right. How can default of the supplier affect the receiver? You're very true in your question. But what to do? Government has made such laws that even if the supplier is defaulted, receiver cannot claim the credit. But worry not, if the supplier comes back and if the new registrant, say after 6 months, he'll become an old registrant, then you can claim it. That it will move automatically from that category of ineligible to ITC available criteria. If supplier is make default, then why ITC will be restricted? Because it is coming in this restricted criteria. That's why it will be restricted. Clear with these four conditions? So first condition is supplier should give a document and receiver should be in possession of that tax-paying document. Second is the credit should appear in your GSTR 2B. Third is you should have actually received the goods or actually received the services. Fourth condition is that credit should not be restricted under section 38. Okay, so these are the first four conditions to claim the credit. Two more conditions are there. We'll take a break of 10 minutes and get back and come back to the fifth and sixth condition, and then we'll proceed further. understood the first four conditions to claim the input tax credit. Now we'll move to the next conditions to claim the credit. Okay, so fourth condition we just completed, saying that GSTR 2B, we have seen the GSTR 2B, and the details of it has details of all inward supplies, and on which ITC can be claimed, this you can claim, and on which ITC we cannot claim, that will be blocked. So in GSTR 2B, the following input taxes are not reflected, and therefore we can claim tax separately by showing tax paying documents and proof of payment, that is IGST on import and tax paid under RCM. Correct. You are very right, Anu. Okay. So ITC will be blocked by these five people. You do not have to check because you will not have access when did he register, or whether he's filing GSTR 1 more than GSTR 3B, whether he's claiming 2B, ITC more than 2B. So these conditions will be checked by the government and be provided to you. Clear? Now, fifth condition, which is there under 16(2)(c), is that the tax levied on supply is actually paid to the government. Okay, which means the GSTR 1, on that basis it will appear in your GSTR 2B, but the supplier should have actually paid the taxes to the government. That is, the supplier should have actually paid the tax which is charged on the goods and or services. That is, if he's supplying goods, then goods. If he's providing services, then services. The supplier of the goods or services for which you are claiming ITC, for which ITC is being taken, the supplier has paid the taxes for that either in cash or by utilizing ITC, subject to provisions of Section 41. So he should have paid it in cash or ITC, subject to the provisions of Section 41. Now, what does Section 41 says is availment of self-assessed ITC. A registered person can avail the credit of eligible ITC as self-assessed in his return, and such amount shall be credited to his electronic credit ledger. That is, once you claim the credit, it will go in your electronic credit ledger we had discussed, right? That is being said in Section 41, which means that the supplier should have paid the taxes on whatever he's supplying to me. He should have paid the taxes. Now he can pay the taxes through the cash itself or by utilizing his electronic credit ledger. Okay. And reversal, that if the tax payable corresponding to such ITC availed is not paid by the supplier, if the supplier, as usual, doesn't comply with this condition, then the receiver will have to reverse the ITC along with the applicable interest, is what this condition is saying. So the supplier should be compliant. If he's not compliant, then the recipient will have to check and then he will have to reverse it. Which means that what will happen? That you have availed the credit because it's appearing in your GSTR 2B. Now later on, you find that the supplier has not paid the taxes, so you will reverse the credit. Okay, you will avail the credit, and then supplier has not paid the taxes, so you will reverse the credit, and then later on supplier will pay. Okay, and it is appearing in your system that yes, he has filed the returns. Then you can re-avail. So that is the concept of availing the credit, reversing, and re-availing. Because what you have availed, you have reversed. Now you are re-availing it. So avail the credit, reverse it, then re-avail the credit. Clear? Reversal of ITC in case of non-payment by the supplier is given in 37A, which says that the registered person can claim the ITC in his GSTR 3B based on GSTR 1 filed by the supplier. However, if the supplier does not furnish GSTR 3B, till when do you have the time to see whether the supplier has filed the return? That is given in this rule 37A, which says that if the supplier does not furnish the 3B for the tax period till the 30th September, then the said amount of ITC shall be reversed while furnishing the return in the 3B of 30th November. And you can re-avail when the supplier has filed his GSTR 3B. So this condition is very weird, right? Because it says that non-payment of tax by the supplier. Now, whether he's paid the tax or no, how will you know? You will have to only rely on his GSTR 3B return. That can be visible because in your GSTR 2B, in the line items of each of the invoice, it will mention the date. Based on the date, it will mention the month, and there will be a column of GSTR 3B filing by the supplier. So from that, you will get to know whether the supplier has filed the GSTR 3B or not. Now, if you have not understood how to give clarity, I know you have understood this. To give clarity to this, let's take an example. Now, A and Amar and Akbar. Okay. And Anthony is not there in our discussion. Only Amar and Akbar is there. Anthony will come as a villain. He will come as a villain when you don't pay the taxes. He'll come as a tax officer. Now, Amar has supplied goods to Akbar. Okay. Now, when Amar supplied goods to Akbar, he is supplied for a value of 1 lakh rupees. So, and he will charge GST at 18%. Say on this normal rate of 18% is there. So, 18,000 is the GST he's charged. How will what will Amar file for this? Amar files what return? And then Akbar, what returns are what things he has to do? Amar files GSTR 1. Yes. Akbar has to check his GSTR 2B. Yes, correct. So everyone has given a correct answer. Amar files GSTR 1. Akbar checks that in his GSTR 2B. Okay. And if he's appearing, then he will claim the credit. Akbar claims credit in GSTR 3B. Right? Now he's claimed it. Everyone has given a correct answer that he has to claim it and he's claimed it. Okay? To auto-generated GSTR 2B, and then if it is appearing, he's claimed it. Now he's claimed it in say this is a transaction happened in August 2025. So he will check his GSTR 2B also in August 25 and he will claim it in his GSTR 3B return also of August 25. Now 3B is to be filed later on, right? So he checks in the September 25 that he is GSTR 3B. Amar has not filed GSTR 3B, not filed. So what should he do in September? Should Akbar take any action? No action. Okay, no action. He will wait for his filing. Right. Good answer. Yes. So what will Akbar do? Akbar will not take any action in September. In October, will he take any action? Or whether in November he will take any action? So he has claimed the credit, but he's checking that some Akbar Ammar has not filed the returns. So he will not have taken any action even in November. Kuldeep is coming up with the answer saying that he has to reverse it. When should he reverse it? Whether in September, October, or November? If supply defaulted, then cannot action. Yes, supplier has defaulted, Navneet, in October. Okay. Ashlesh is saying nothing yet. Navneet is saying reverse in October. Harsh Kumar is saying reverse it in November. Syed is saying nothing to be done. Wait for the next year. और जितना time देना उतना दे दो उसको. Why recipient has to check that supplier has filed or not? Because the condition, Jaya Kumari, it's saying that the supplier has to pay taxes. All these conditions has to be claimed. So if you have to claim the input tax credit, it is not easy for you. So all the six conditions you have to satisfy. The fifth condition says that the supplier has to pay taxes to the government. That is the reason he will have to check whether the supplier has filed the return or not. Penalty लगेगी if not reversed. When not reversed by when? Yeah, how will Akbar know if his Amar has filed? You have a provision in the GSTR 2A to check whether the supplier has filed the return or no. From that, you will get to know whether the supplier has filed or not filed it. Right. Most of you have given a correct answer. Supplier has to file his return in GSTR 3B. Yeah, right. He will have to file his return in 3B. So what does this provision say that, as rightly put by my friend, Amar has supplied goods, valued this, Amar filed, as we know, GSTR 1, and Akbar has filed his GSTR 2B, and he has claimed the credit in GSTR 3B. This is what? This is a transaction of August 2025, right? So he will have to wait and follow up with Amar saying that file your returns. Okay. Amar files it, fine. If he doesn't file, he will have to give him time till, as we had seen here, till the November, which is basically November, which month's return comes? October's return. October 2026, he has to wait and see if Amar files the return. If he's filed it, good. If he's not filed it, then if Amar files, then good. If Amar does not file the GSTR 3B till October 26, then Akbar has to reverse that 18,000 rupees. Yeah. Then Akbar has to reverse the 18,000 rupees. Clear, sir? Even though the transaction is this year, don't think that you have to reverse it in this year itself. You have to reverse it in the November of the subsequent year. Irrespective of monthly or quarterly, Aditya, doesn't matter. In September, he has to reverse? No. In October of the subsequent month, he has to reverse it. Clear यहाँ पे? No, there's not a period of 2 months. The period is more than 2 months. For April 2025, you will see in the October 2026. So the time gap is more. For March 2025, also you will see in October, right? So the time gap reduces as and when the months passes. So Akbar has to check 2A every month till October. Correct. Or he can just see in the October month itself. That is also fine. Correct. End of the following year. October of the end of the following year is what is 2026 in our example. Okay. So कितना टाइम होता है जीएसटी रिवर्स करने का? अक्टूबर, वही तो बोल रहे हैं हम कि आपको इमीडिएटली रिवर्स करना नहीं है। अगस्त में भी आपने देखा कि दिसंबर में भी देखा कि पार्टी ने अमर ने फाइल नहीं किया है, तो आपको दिसंबर में रिवर्स करने की जरूरत नहीं है। आपको अक्टूबर तक आप वेट कर सकते हो, वरना फिर क्या करेंगे, आप रिवर्स करेंगे तो इंटरेस्ट पे करना पड़ेगा। तो इस लेकिन बाद में अगर उसने पे कर दिया है तो फिर आपका इंटरेस्ट फिर से रिफंड नहीं मिलेगा। करेक्ट? तो इसीलिए आपको अक्टूबर तक देखना है, फिर रिवर्स करना है। और आपने रिवर्स कर दिया है अभी, फिर Amar has filed his GSTR 3B in December of 26. Then Akbar क्या करेगा? Akbar will reclaim कितना अमाउंट? This 18,000 rupees he will reclaim. Clear है अभी? Avail it. Check whether supplier has filed the return. फाइल नहीं किया, अक्टूबर तक, अगले साल के अक्टूबर तक रिवर्स करो, फिर रिक्लेम करो whenever he files it. Any questions? Sir, if Akbar reverses it before October and Amar filed in December, will interest be applicable? Yes. Once you reverse it, you have to reverse it with interest. And once Akbar files it, you can reclaim the credit, but interest to gaya. So in this case, if Amar supplies to Akbar in the month of December 25, then Akbar claims the ITC, but Amar does not file the return. Amar has to still wait till October 26. Correct. October of next month, right? Akbar can claim interest from Akbar. Yes. So internally, Akbar can claim interest from Amar, saying that since you did not file the return on time, I had to pay interest. So that's a contractual arrangement. GST law will not come in between them. If supplier not filed itself, तो ये जो reverse है, इसको फिर आप reclaim नहीं कर सकते हो. You have to have a dialogue with your party. GST law will not save you. Clear with that. Sir, if Akbar reversed it before October 26 and Amar filed in December, the interest will be applicable? Yes. So it is on our benefit not to reverse till October 26. Exactly. So that's why the government has given maximum time. If you want to reverse it before reverse it, then loss will be yours because then government will not refund you the interest portion. How interest appearing here? See, you have claimed it in August 25, but he has not filed the return till October 26. तो आपने जो क्रेडिट लिया है वो प्रोविजनल क्रेडिट लिया है और सामने वाले ने टैक्स तो पे नहीं किया है, तो इसीलिए फ्रॉम August 26 टिल October 26 जब आप रिवर्स करते हो तब आपको इंटरेस्ट पे करना पड़ेगा. So what if Amar has not filed 3B at all and he waited till October 26? Interest for how many months will be charged? From August 25 till October 26, that period interest will be charged. So we can reverse in November also, as it is mentioned in the book. November is the month wherein we file the return for October. So basically they're saying October return when you will file, that time you have to reverse it. Because November returns you will file in December. That is not the intention. The intention is you have to reverse it in the month of November itself. करेक्ट. जितना आप रिवर्स ज्यादा करोगे, लेकिन आपको ये भी देखना है कि जितना ज्यादा डिले करूंगा इंटरेस्ट बढ़ेगा, लेकिन ये भी देखना है कि अगर पार्टी को मैंने टाइम दिया और वो फाइल कर दिया तो फिर मेरा इंटरेस्ट तो लॉस हो जाएगा. सो बेस्ड ऑन दिस यू हैव टू डू अ जजमेंट. Provisional ITC is applicable now? No, there's no provisional ITC provision. It's just the ITC. How to write an exam, this provision, notification, rules and sections, how to learn in GST. So ITC के जो भी है sections you learn, other sections you don't have to learn. ITC sections are very important, so you'll have to learn it. If Akbar does not reverse and Amar also has not filed, so then what happens? Government will anyways catch hold. Interest will continue, but the government will recover it, will at least raise a demand on Akbar saying that you have availed ITC incorrectly, and they will also uh, raise a case against Amar saying that you have made a supply but not paid the taxes. Okay. So that is the provision on reversal of ITC for non-payment of tax. With the example, now we are clear. How to write an exam like we do start with relevant section and then write provision. So if it is a practical question, do the workings, and wherever you have to refer to section or notes, make the provision and write the note number. So it will refer to the note number where you will mention the detailing of the provisions, what you understand, and the relevant sections. So when you go to problem solving session, you will understand this. But for now, understand if it's a practical question, do the working And wherever reference to section or explanation has to be given, mention in bracket note number, and after the table where you're doing the working below that, mention the note number and explain it. करेक्ट, मतलब जल्दी रिवर्स करने पे इंटरेस्ट चार्ज होगा, बट रिस्क है कि अगर अमर ने फाइल कर दिया तो इंटरेस्ट पेड इज लॉस्ट. करेक्ट. राइट. Note number. So there can be multiple explanation which you have to give. So write it through a note number one. Then give a reference to note number one below and explain it. So when you go to problem solving, you will understand what is the note numbers. How to prepare notes of GST? My presentation is there, which is very detailed, right? So you have to prepare your own notes when we go through the studies, when you do your self-study, mention the topic and prepare your own notes. Like in the exemption chapter, if you see, have a handwritten note, right? So everything is covered in one paper. So you have to do your own notes, which you are comfortable. ITC, remember all the sections. Other provisions, I would suggest that main sections like supply, time of supply, the supply provision section 9, section 7, and then charging section 9. Those important provisions you just remember. Okay. Now let's go to the last condition. That the sixth condition is filing of return by the person who is claiming the credit, which is given in section 16(2)(d), which says that uh, you have to file the return to claim the credit. बाकी सब condition satisfied हो गए, yes, that's good. But to claim the credit, you have to file the return. Which return? GSTR 3B. So supplier will file GSTR 1, mention his sale. It will come in your GSTR 2B, and you will file the GSTR 3B in the file the return. Clear? So only when you file the 3B, because you say I've satisfied all the 5 conditions, credit should come to me automatically. It is not a magic here that it will come in your 3B. It is not a magic that it will come in your electronic credit ledger. Once you file this final return, that is the GSTR 3B return, then that amount will appear in your electronic credit ledger. Now, these are the 6 conditions to claim the credit, which is there in 16(2). Now, apart from 16(2), there are other points which are relevant, which we will understand one by one. When the goods against an invoice are received in lots or installments, how will you claim the credit? एक आपके पास है that you want to buy 1,000 bags of cement. Okay, एक ही, just one moment. Final lot. Okay. So if you have received 1,000 kgs of cement, it will not come in one truck, 200 in first truck, 200 in second truck, 200 in the third truck, like that. 200 bags will come in separate trucks. So when you will claim the credit? As soon as the first truck is come and the invoice is come, you will claim it? No. Once the last truck is come, that is the last lot, only then you can claim it. That applies for any goods. I've just given one example where any goods you have received, say you have purchased a big machinery and that has to get installed at your plant. The supplier will not send the whole machinery like it if it's a big machinery. He will break it. It's called a semi-knockdown condition. He will knock it down and then give it to you. Okay. So once the last lot is received for that consignment, that is when you can claim the credit. And payment is to be made to the supplier within 180 days. कि आपने credit all the conditions claim तो कर लिया है, but ये second provision to section 16 तो बोलता है कि आपको पार्टी को पेमेंट करना है within 180 days. कब से 180 डेज? इनवॉइस आया है, इनवॉइस से 180 डेज. 1 जनवरी को इनवॉइस आया है, 30 जून को आपको पेमेंट करना है. अगर आप 30 जून को पेमेंट नहीं करते हो तो 1 जुलाई को आपको आईटीसी रिवर्स करना है विद इंटरेस्ट. So payment has to be made to the supplier within 180 days from the date of issue of invoice is this second condition. These are all conditions apart from section 16(2). Okay. If goods supplied over a year, yes, good question कि आपने मार्च में स्टार्ट किया लॉट बेचना, 30th लॉट को 30th मार्च को एक लॉट आया है, फिर 31st को एक, 1st जनवरी को एक, 2nd जनवरी को एक, 2nd अप्रैल को एक. So once the last lot is received on 2nd April, that is when you can claim the credit. If it is paid later than 180 days, then again reverse it, and once you make the payment, reclaim it. On payment, reclaim it without any time limit. एक बार आपको claim कर दिया है, then there is a time limit. To reverse, you again have 180 days. After that, anytime you make the payment, even after 2 years you make the payment, you can reclaim it. If one truck cement received along with invoice, yeah. If individually they have said, okay, 200 trucks for this 200 cement, one invoice, then you can claim for that. But if they're given one invoice for the whole consignment, then on the last lot, you have to claim it. If separate truck के ऊपर separate invoice they've given, then it's a separate supply. It's not a supply in lots. Exception is RCM, because in reverse charge, you are only paying the taxes, so this 180 days will not apply. Deemed supplies without consideration, that is Schedule 1 transactions, and any addition, like we have taken that example under value of supply, that you are paying to the cement vendor instead of supplier paying it, that has to be added to the value of supply. So that will not be added. So these are the 3 exceptions to this 180 days payment. Clear? So 180 days, you have to make the payment regularly. But in these 3 conditions, this will not apply. That is reverse charge mechanism, deemed supplies without consideration, because this is a supply और आपको consideration तो मिलेगा ही नहीं. तो उसमें consideration का time limit भी नहीं लगेगा. Right? Like disposal of assets, any donation which you are giving, all these cases is under schedule 1 category. तो उसके ऊपर आपको कंसिडरेशन मिलेगा ही नहीं, तो 180 days also will not apply. And third case is when you are made the payment on the supply and you don't have to make the payment because you have already made the payment and you don't have to make the payment against the invoice. Are you kind of correlating what we discussed in value of supply and ITC? As it said, ITC we have touched across in various chapters. So value of supply, maybe we have included the concept of ITC. बस आप पता कैसा लगेगा कि पेमेंट विद इन 180 डेज हुआ या नहीं. You have to maintain your books of account and you have to prove that you have to made the payment within 180 days or no. The government does not have control and neither in the returns they are asking it. So you will have to have a control and you have to check whether you have made the payment within 180 days or not. Availment of credit in GSTR 3B. Yes, Jaya Manucha, what is your question? ITC, so these are the additional conditions. Then on capital goods also, I said we can claim the credit. How can you claim the credit on capital goods? When a registered person, yeah, before that, availment of credit is in which form? Yes, it is in GSTR 3B itself. Credit can be claimed in GSTR 3B itself. ITC on capital goods, where the registered person has claimed depreciation on the tax component of the cost of capital goods and plant and machinery under the provisions of income tax, then input tax credit shall not be allowed. Right? You can't take the benefit of both income tax depreciation and GST. You bought a machinery for 10 lakh rupees. The supplier has charged 1 lakh 80,000 rupees. You have claimed depreciation on full 11 lakh 80,000 rupees. So can you claim GST again on that 1 lakh 80,000? No, you can't. You should ideally claim depreciation on 10 lakhs and on 1 lakh 80,000 you claim the input tax credit. Okay. Then your 1 lakh 80 is valid. But if you're claiming full 11 lakh 80,000 as the capitalized value, then you cannot claim GST credit on the GST portion. Thank you, Mustafa. So he said that he's understanding it well with explanations and charts. That's the objective, that to make you understand in the best way so that you can remember it for a long duration. Great, Anubhav. Thank you too. Okay, coming back to the कैपिटल गुड्स की, आप अगर वैल्यू ऑफ कैपिटल गुड्स के ऊपर डेप्रिसिएशन क्लेम करते हो देन इट्स फाइन, आपको जीएसटी का क्रेडिट मिलेगा. आप दोनों हाथ में लड्डू नहीं रख सकते हो कि आप क्रेडिट भी लोगे और डेप्रिसिएशन भी क्लेम करोगे, वैसे नहीं होगा. व्हाट इज द टाइम लिमिट टू क्लेम द क्रेडिट? दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. ओके, कब तक मैं क्रेडिट क्लेम कर सकता हूं? थैंक यू नवनीत. Now, what is the time limit to claim the credit? A registered person shall not be entitled to take input tax credit in respect of any invoice or debit note for the supply of goods or services after the 30th November following the end of the financial year to which such invoice or debit note pertains. This will become easier for us now because we have understood that अवेल करके reclaim reversal जब करते हैं कितने टाइम में करना पड़ेगा सेम टाइम लिमिट अप्लाइज हियर if you have got an invoice till when can you claim the credit you can claim it till the 30th November following the end of the financial year or the date of furnishing of the annual return for the relevant year whichever is earlier okay so this is the time limit to claim the credit कि अगर आपके पास आज इनवॉइस आया है यू कैन क्लेम इट इन दिस मंथ भूल गए हो नेक्स्ट मंथ क्लेम कर दीजिए अगले मंथ भी भूल गए हो क्लेम इट इन द थर्ड मंथ like that you can keep forgetting it but you have an outer time limit to forget it मतलब the intention is not to forget it in case you have forgotten it or could be other reason that invoice तो आ गया है supplier ने GSTR 1 फाइल नहीं किया है so you can follow up with him and you can tell him कि at least month year end में करो year end में नहीं हो सकता है तो अगले साल अक्टूबर तक you have to file it otherwise I cannot claim the credit Annual return date. The annual return date is generally 31st December of the subsequent month. So for 2024-25, the annual return date is 31st December 2025. So for 25-26, the due date for filing annual return is 31st December 2026. So 31st December of the end of that financial year. Who has to file annual return? Everybody has to file. Every registered person who's crossed the limit. The limit is 2 crore rupees. If your turnover is more than 2 crore rupees, you have to file your GSTR 9, the annual return. Correct. 31st October is the last date of the following year. Correct. To correct the claim the credit. Same name to be audited. I didn't understand. Same month, sir, till 30th November would be pertaining to transaction of October. No, no. You're not clear. Just ask a question in a correct manner. Less than 2 crore, no need to file annual return. Yes. Invoice is issued in case of credit sales. Invoice is issued in case of credit sales as well as cash sales. So once the time of supply is made, like we read, right, Jaya, in terms of time of supply for goods, once the goods are moved out, right, you have to raise an invoice. So irrespective of whether it's a credit sale or cash sale, when there is a movement of goods, you have to raise an invoice. Annual returns needs to be audited. It has to be audited by not an auditor. It has to be verified with the auditor financials and the GSTR 9 through another return called GSTR 9C. So 30th November, October is for reversal of ITC and 30th first November of the following year is for availing return. Both it is 30th November itself by the November. But 30th November में आप क्या करोगे? The returns filing happens on the 20th, right? So if you delay it, they're saying give take additional 10 days. For reversal also it is 30th November and to avail the credit also it's 30th November. दोनों के लिए 30th November ही है. करेक्ट, 30th November फाइलिंग वुड बी फॉर द मंथ ऑफ अक्टूबर, यूर राइट। नवंबर मंथ में हम अक्टूबर मंथ का रिटर्न फाइल करेंगे, करेक्ट। Yes, yes, I will take an example so we'll understand this better. Yes, for composition dealer also annual return filing is compulsory. Okay. You have purchased good from Amar Akbar Anthony हो गया, अभी will not take Amar Akbar Anthony again, we'll take some other example. We'll take good example of Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi has supplied goods for 1 lakh rupees. Okay, and he's charged GST of same, say इसमें 12%, 5% ले लेते हैं, तो he's charged 5,000 rupees. Okay, and invoice is dated 30th April 2025. You will claim it in which month? April का invoice है. Goods is also received on 30th April itself. So normal scenario, you can claim ITC in which month? Month of May. May में which returns you are filing? Which month returns that you tell me? Because claiming in May means it will become really odd. Return of May. नहीं, आपके परचेज अप्रैल में है, so why will you claim it in the May month's return? You will claim it in ITC in GSTR 3B, which you will file for the month of April 24-25 itself. Of course, filing May में होगा, but what is the return period that is relevant? Right? Normally, you have claimed it, fine, and 180 days payment that you will see. लेकिन अभी आपने claimed in ITC of April 3B, you have missed it. You have not claimed ITC in GSTR 3B of April. Then what will happen? Can you claim it in the month of May 2025 के रिटर्न में? Can you claim it in May 2025 return? Yes, you can claim it. Correct. So we can claim it in May, we can claim it in June, we can claim it in July, but any month you can claim it. Now, why you had not claimed it is because supplier has not uploaded in his GSTR1, तो आपको GSTR2B में नहीं दिख रहा है. So maximum time you can claim it is till the 30th November 2026. Okay, or annual return date. So say your annual return, AR is annual return, you filed it on दिसंबर का डेट है, आपने 30th दिसंबर को ही फाइल किया है. So 30th November or 30th December, whichever is earlier. So 30th November is earlier, so you can claim by 30th November. बट से योर एनुअल रिटर्न्स आपको थोड़ा अर्जेंट था और आपने 30 सितंबर को ही फाइल कर दिया, सो इन दैट केस यू कैन क्लेम दिस क्रेडिट, ओके, बाय मैक्सिमम 30 सितंबर. That is the meaning of this provision, wherein what is the time limit to claim the credit. नॉर्मली क्या होता है कि अगर हमने क्लेम नहीं किया तो वी गेट टाइम टिल 30 सितंबर, तो 30 सितंबर तक हम, या 30 नवंबर तक जनरली क्लेम करते हैं, बिकॉज योर एनुअल रिटर्न्स आर जनरली फाइल्ड in December itself. For availing ITC, whether person, yes, in the 3B he has to mention the amount. It will not be auto, it will be auto populated, but you have to recheck it. ठीक है. सो 30 अप्रैल का इनवॉइस आप अप्रैल मई जून जुलाई पूरे साल तक 25-26, अगर इस साल भी मिस हो गया तो अगले साल अक्टूबर के रिटर्न तक आप क्लेम कर सकते हो. नाउ यू हैव not claimed in April 25 till November 26, you have not claimed. Can you claim it in December 26 return? Okay, one more twist I'll add. Annual return, you have filed it in January 2027. Now, can you claim it in December 26 return? Now, Ashlisha is saying yes, you can claim it. Kuldeep also is saying yes. Because annual return you have filed late, no? So before that you can claim it. No, you still cannot claim it because the last date to claim the ITC, as we had discussed, यहाँ पे भी देखिए 30th November, or the date of furnishing annual return, whichever is earlier, not whichever is later, right? So you can file it or claim it maximum by 30th November. अगर रिटर्न पहले फाइल कर दिया तो आगे बढ़ जाएगा डेट, लेकिन पीछे नहीं जाएगा. So maximum you can claim it by 30th November. You cannot claim it later on. अगर 30th November तक मिस हो गया या पार्टी ने GSTR फाइल नहीं किया, any reason, you have sufficient time, you can claim it till that. After 30th November, you can't claim it. Clear? Now, with the examples, this provision is clear. Yes, there is a last date for filing annual return. That's just 30th December of the year. Now, in this case, why you may get confused is he's filed in January. So he's filed it late. He will pay late filing fees and he'll pay interest. Okay, but the due date is December 26 for 25-26. Okay. So time limit to claim the credit. एक बार आपने claim कर दिया है, it will be in your GSTR 3B. Then till what time can you utilize it? In this example, you can claim it. December में you cannot claim it, so you can claim it by maximum November 2026, करेक्ट? तो आपने नवंबर में क्लेम कर दिया है, टिल व्हाट टाइम कैन यू यूटिलाइज इट? Yes, Anubhav, for 25-26, the last date of annual return is 30th December, 31st December, because you have 31st also in this month, right? So 31st December 2026. मतलब आपके सेल्स नहीं है इन नवंबर, कैन यू, इफ यू हैव सेल्स इन दिसंबर, कैन यू यूटिलाइज दिस क्रेडिट ऑफ 5,000 rupees? Yes. So once you avail it, the time limit is कि आपके returns के अंदर आना, that is called as availing. Once you avail it, you can utilize it anytime. So utilizing is जब आप आपके सेल होता है उसके साथ offset करते हो, that is called utilizing it. You can utilize it anytime after you avail it. So the time limit given under the law is for availing it. Once you avail it, you can utilize it anytime. एंड ऑल्सो अगर आपने क्लेम टाइम पे कर दिया है, टू रिवर्स इट, you will reverse it because you have seen that condition of 180 days and not return not filed by the supplier. You will reverse it. To re-avail also, there is no time limit. You can re-avail it any point of time. Clear yahan tak? Then credit on debit note. This is a little detailed thing. This we will take up in the next session. But till here, have you understood? Claiming can be done either on 30th November and annual return, whichever is earlier. Correct.
Uh, Sir, I have a doubt that if the recipient did not make the payment within 80 days, so he has to back the reverse the ITC, so he'll have to pay interest on that. Okay,
Correct.
so it is clearly the fault of the recipient. But sir, I have a doubt that if the supplier is not furnishing the return, so if the recipient has claimed the ITC, so he have to reverse again. So sir, in this case, recipient has to pay interest also, or it is the fault of the supplier, so does not have to pay interest.
No, the first question was that if the recipient does not make the payment within 180 days, it is the mistake of recipient. He has to reverse the credit.
Yeah, and
Okay.
he has to pay the interest also.
Correct.
But sir, if the supplier is not filing the GSTR1 and
Hmm.
not showing the sale to make to the recipient, so it is not fault of the recipient. Na? So why he has to pay the interest?
Yeah, he will have to pay the interest because he has availed the credit, and on his sales, he has paid the less taxes by availing this credit. So if he's not paid the output tax through this credit, then interest will not come,
But sir, he
right?
had
Because
also paid
on
the
his
tax to the
sales,
supplier.
he's paid tax to the supplier, but not to the government. So government is interested in their revenue. Since they have not got the tax from the supplier and the receiver has claimed the credit, right? So that's the reason they are saying the recipient that you have availed the credit and paid less taxes on your sales. So you have to pay interest.
So sir, that means every recipient should have rely on the GSTR 2B. If it is not
Correct.
showing in 2B, so he cannot claim. Otherwise, he have to pay interest.
Correct.
Okay, okay sir, thank you.
If we have availed in GSTR 3B, that means all conditions are fulfilled, including 3B filed by the supplier. Not necessary. You might not have satisfied the condition, but still you might have claimed it, right? Like you have not made the payment within 180 days, but you have claimed it, right? but the sixth condition is satisfied. You can, because it's a return, right? You will have to then prove that you have satisfied the condition because there's no blocker in the return. The return will take whatever value you give. Annual return has to be submitted by 31st December of the year. So for 24-25, the due date is 31st December 2025. Bit tricky, but interesting. Very nice. If it's interesting, that is good. It has to be tricky. Sure. Thank you, Shamli. We'll see you in the next class. Thank you, Navneet. Thank you, everyone. Yes, sir.